take away the economy from those who rigged it. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. And of course, good morning to the entire world. How's everybody doing today? I trust everybody is doing just fine. We are going to have a great program for you as usual. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and move it on to LS Studio, where we have the one and only Howard Reynolds and Jack Van Beber, our resident geniuses. Buenos dias, hermanos. How are you guys doing this morning?
Those heinous geniuses are here.
Us heinous heathens are here.
That's right. I'll tell you what, we're going to hijack your show today. We're going to talk about nothing but Donald Trump.
All right. Hijack, man. Hijack.
He's got to be loving this stuff because all he wants is attention. But the problem is he's getting negative attention. If you look at the review of, what was it, Conan O'Brien last night or a couple of nights ago about the Kennedy Center and how they roasted him. It's really pretty funny. Wednesday it is at the radio, the 16th of April, 2025. And Jack has a whole page of wisdom, so I think we should get to it.
Good
Bring
morning,
it on,
Egberto.
Jack. Good morning,
How
my
are you?
brother. I'm
All right.
fine. Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me.
All right. Bernie says packed rallies are scaring the hell out of President Donald J. Trump and Wonder Boy Elon Musk. Good. They need to experience some fear and anxiety, just like the fear and anxiety the people are experiencing about their Social Security income being cut so some fat cat can pull profit out of the social program that belongs to the citizen workers that paid into the Social Security Trust Fund all these years. The corporate entity does not want to pay their share of funds into Social Security, and President Donald J. Trump is acting on their behalf of the corporate entity to privatize Social Security. 3 months into Trump's presidency, and the citizens are already in an uproar over his lies and misrepresentations of the truth. So be afraid. Be very afraid, Trump administration. The people are coming for you with every rally protest they organize.
Absolutely. And
There.
I like the way he just slams the paper down on the desk and says, there you have it.
You know, it is like booyah or, mic drop. Mic drop.
Well, one of those.
Well, I'm glad the people are starting to act. It's good to see.
What was
It
it? Mike Johnson decided that they're going to cut Medicare. He voted for it.
Yes, he did.
House, yeah, he did. He voted for it. Like, Mike, half of the people in your state are on Medicare. So you're going to cut out half of their Medicare in your state? That seems to me like a stab in the back. What do you think?
Yeah, people, how does that back feel right now?
All those knives in it, it's going to feel kind of magnetic.
Well,
Pointy.
the thing about it is we have to make people know about this, and it is sad. But I have a sort of a little before we even start the program, sort of a complaint that irked me yesterday. Houston Landing, right? Both of you guys heard about Houston Landing, that independent media rag, news online paper, etc. They are going to be shutting their doors and their virtual doors, everything, in May. And,
Okay.
you know who they are, right?
No, I don't. I don't.
Okay,
I'm not familiar with them.
No, it's an independent news media fish, and we here at KPFT have actually attempted to work with them before, and in fact, I've sent a couple of letters several times to that organization to see how we could corroborate in news, etc. Because again, they're independent. Now, I want to tell our audience something. And this is just it really irks me because they're going on. They got $20 million in seed money. $20 million. They had on their staff about 43 people. That's great. Independent media, 43 people. I did some back napkin calculations, and if each of those journalists, and by the way, to be sure, at KPFT, our journalist gets zero. We are volunteers. At KPFT, we have an engineer that gets a nominal salary, the brother that you hear in here, and a few little staff, etc. But here's the thing. Here at KPFT, you hear us do fund drives 4 times a year, and we try to ask folks to, among when we're doing our shows, etc. If you feel something touch you or whatever, and you see the importance of what we do, we ask you to go to kpft.org and hit that donate button to help us out. We operate on a budget of under $1 million. We have a 100,000 watt transmitter. We have we have people that come in. We have our place of business. We have all these things that we do. We're very frugal with your money, the folks who support our independent media here at KPFT. But we don't only do independent media at KPFT. We also do exotic music. Brother Reynolds has his own just about country music channel. I mean, we do a lot. The reason I'm saying this and why this irks me is we have a lot of respect for the folks who support us. You know what we could have done here at KPFT with 20 million? That stuff would have lasted us over 10 years with other contributions coming in, of course. And we would be able to have a more robust staff, and we would be able to give Howard, our engineer that makes stuff happens out here, so many more resources. So it irks me when we have folks purporting to be independent media and $20 million goes out like that. I mean, this is my rant. I did my rant yesterday at the 3 o'clock show, and I'm doing it here again because I want, when a lot of folks read that in the newspaper, when they read that, it hurts those of us in the independent media that are doing a lot of volunteer work, that are doing a whole lot of this on our own, to say, how could you blow $20 million? So again, I want our audience to know that we love what you do when you support us, and we are very frugal, because we know that the monies that you contribute to KPFT is your hard-earned dollars. And most of the folks out here are volunteers. We're not asking everybody to, time is money. Yes, we understand that. But we want you to know that you're cherished whenever you support this independent media station, these independent media programs. Thank you. And I just, for all of you that read that, and for some of the comments that I got, like, what did they do with that? I mean, my Signal account went up like, did you see that? Did you see that? $20 million in 2 years? All right, sorry about that, guys, but I want you to know that your contributions here are cherished, well spent to get the job done, and we are, in fact, frugal with your dollars. Okay, today I want to talk about the resistance. Resisting that which wrongs you, which wrongs our country. I personally, and this is a personal statement, I consider the government that we have right now, both the leadership in Congress, the President of the United States, and the cabinet. This is my personal opinion. I see it as treasonous. I see them as traitors. There's a with what they've done with Doge in Congress, or rather in the different federal agencies, and with reports that are coming out with the kinds of controls that these folks were taking on our vital computer systems, our nervous system in the government. I am concerned that we have sold out the American people, sold you out. This is not conjecture anymore. Yesterday on Maddo, and it's still, what is really behooving me is that even as much of this information is coming out, our mainstream media refuses to cover it, even as they cover peripheral issues and issues that are easily debunked, or even as they give Donald Trump the space and the airtime to lie to you. We'll go over that a little bit later. But Rachel Maddow had a piece yesterday where one of the guys that run the computer analysts, the internet analysts at one of these agencies, they kept on monitoring the systems because the Doge people came in. They created administrative accounts. These accounts, they tried to make it that it could not be monitored, meaning that whenever you open an account in a computer system, a computer network, a lot of these accounts have what's known as tracebacks, or they allow you to monitor things that have happened. These accounts were created and they couldn't be monitored. They disabled all this monitoring, and they opened up these different computer systems in such a manner that it can have mobile access that shouldn't be there. And soon after that was done, accounts that were created on these computers, in this case it was the NLRB, but one can extrapolate that on other agencies that Doge went, whether it be IRS, NSA, SAID, and all these other places, that likely these all guys that came in and got these admin accounts likely did the same thing. We don't have the evidence for that. We have the evidence for what happened at the NLRB. Now, as soon as these accounts, or soon after, within 15 minutes of the creation of these accounts, external IP addresses with Genesis in Russia attempted to get into these systems with these user IDs. Now, the Doge people, what evidently they didn't know is that within the core of the NLRB system, it prevents IPs from certain locales, in this case Russia. Even if they have access to log in, the data cannot go out to those IPs. So in that particular login sequence of events that occurred, they didn't get in. But it occurred immediately after Doge created those accounts, according to the report from the analyst that worked at the NLRB that appeared on with his lawyer and the whistleblower affidavit on Rachel Maddow last night. But here's the kicker. They also found within the data that soon after these guys came to that area, there was a spike in text data that was exported from those computer systems. I think it was an NLRB system, in which 10 gigabytes of text got, and you can see that spike. It's orders of magnitude greater than the normal traffic that those computer systems have. They don't exactly know what that traffic is. I don't know if they have enough forensic yet to read that traffic, but it was 10 gigabytes of data. Do you know what 10 gigabytes of data at an NLRB that has contracts and secret information from companies, etc., what that means? when I talk about treasonous and the lack of transparency with what these guys are doing, this is what I'm talking about. And this is something that I think should be, I think this is a type of news that you break into normal programming and say, look at what have been found. We have these people that come to claim they're going to make federal government more efficient, and somehow data starts leaving the federal government in the realm of gigabytes. This is some, I mean, I know to a lot of people this is sort of over the, here the technical part is, but the actuality isn't. That your government, who has all your data, and people come in with admin passwords and make it possible for all that data to go out. Do you understand what can be done with that? Let me just say, personally, a person who lives online like myself, I live my life as if my data is stolen. You know, I live my life that way, but most people don't. And a lot of people believe in the sanctity and security of the IRS having your data, the Social Security Office having your data, the SSI, I mean the Medicare have your data, etc. Do you know what can be done with that data in the hands of other people, not only for selling your data, but also for monitoring, for creating shenanigans that stops your Social Security check from coming in? There is a lot that can happen. That's treasonous. That's traitors. So that is the first thing that got to me. And you have to wonder if that wasn't the real reason why they created this Doge project. Because the Doge project that I hear many of my brothers and sisters of the MAGA persuasion who call in here sometimes talking about Doge is going to save money, and Doge is saving money and finding corruption and all of that. They found none of it. The last report now proved that it's not $1 or $2 trillion that Doge have saved. The last thing that they printed on their website was only saved $150 billion. And when the New York Times and the others went through the data, even that $150 billion was suspect. And much of that came from not finding waste and fraud, but simply cutting programs that from the NIH and healthcare, etc., research, etc. The damage that is being done to our country in this regard, folks, is something that we all need to stand up for or stand up to. And the reality is we are. That's the great thing. We are. We are standing up. But likewise, and again, if you watch the mainstream media, you rarely see it. Luckily, Rachel Maddows and a few shows you every day the hundreds of events that's occurring every day. It show you the humongous crowds that the oligarchy tour that Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are doing. It shows you that that is a very effective thing, where even in a place like Idaho, they bring in 12,000 people. LA over 20,000 people. Arizona 30,000 people. So we are talking about people being engaged and not being represented. But again, folks, we have to be the answer. We have to be the solution to that which ails us, to that which is damaging us. Now, on another subject, Columbia University. As we know, Columbia University caved to Donald Trump when Donald Trump threatened to take $400 million from them. They caved. You heard Obama and many others telling these universities, look, sometime you have to stand up to the attempt of this administration to autocratically, following in the realms of Putin, control your university, you got to stand up. Obama finally opened his mouth, and a few other ex-presidents, specifically Biden, started to talk. You remember several weeks ago we were asking, why aren't the ex-presidents, people who were in that office, start making the rounds and talking about how evil this is, how wrong this is? Why don't you do that? Well, Obama finally started, Biden's finally started doing that. But then we got some spine. After Obama came out and said, hey, why you guys have huge endowments. You know, the Harvard University has a $50 billion endowment. The University of Texas has a 40-something billion dollar endowment. We have Yale. All these universities have huge endowments. Yeah, they don't have to. They can weather the Trump storm to make sure that we don't change into an autocracy on demand. That they are there, that they're there as the institutions of learning, the institutions of progress, the institution of protest, the institutions of resistance to that which is attempting to destroy the country. And Harvard, that elite university that many of us like to call out often, they stood up. And others seem ready to stand up. We have the PAC, I think it's a PAC-10 or the PAC or one of these others. They decided to work together as a unit to fight whomever Donald Trump comes at next. So we have to be very careful. We got to be very careful about what's going on. But it is great that they're starting to stand up. And you know, even locally, people are starting to stand up. So before I start taking calls, I want to play a video of one of our activists in this Kingwood area who went ahead and did a protest against Dan Crenshaw, District 2. Very important one because, again, to show that, yes, people are in fact activated. Even if the mainstream media isn't covering it, we are. Even if the mainstream media isn't covering it, many independent media is out there covering it. And I'm not talking about the independent media that got $20 million in seed money. I'm talking about the people who truly, truly believe in independent media, the truth, and letting things be known. Check this out. Hello, Cindy Hendrickson, who is the leader of the Indivisible Kingwood. Cindy, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
Where are you guys? I see you guys are out there in the Woodlands. What are you doing?
We are at the intersection of Grand Fairway and Cochrane's Crossing. Dan Crenshaw is having a paid-for fundraiser at the country club for the Woodlands Republican Women's Group. And we're out here protesting him because he will not speak to all of his constituents.
Well, I heard that he had apparently one town hall with invited guests, but
correct.
No real questions from real people. So were you guys able to see him yet at all, or you're just there waiting?
We are here waiting. We don't know if he's gone in yet, but one of his staffers came out to take our photographs, which is a little concerning, but you know, whatever. Here we are.
Wait, they actually came, the staffer came and took the photograph of the group or of individuals?
Of the group.
Okay, well, I tell you what, Cindy, why don't you show me some of the signs that you guys went ahead and put together? Who's that that we have there?
You want to be on camera? Sure. Can you see her?
Yes, I can see her. Who is that? Ask her what is she doing out there? What are you doing out there?
Hi, Egberto. This is Reagan. I am happy to be out here. Cindy talked about the staffer that was out here taking pictures of us, and we were saying we want a town hall. He said, we had a town hall out here a couple months ago. I said, no, you did not. You had a private town hall event. And when I called and asked about a town hall, you or somebody else in the office said I could join on Zoom, but we weren't allowed to ask any questions. And I think that's wrong. just because I live in Porter, Texas, doesn't mean that I should be represented any less. I shouldn't have to pay $40 or $600 to get into these events. He represents me too, and I've got questions.
Well, even at that town hall, which I actually recorded, he didn't say much. And the one Social Security person there that asked the question, he actually insulted. So
Yes,
it's quite interesting. He insulted a Social Security person, and he just about made fun of some of the people that objected to some of the things that he's all about. Well, look, I'm glad to see that you guys are out there. Is there anybody else out there that is willing to say a word? Because it's great to see people in action. That's what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
That is what
Let's
we're talking
see
about.
if anybody else wants to talk.
Yeah, here we go. We're going to find some other folks.
All right, let keep walking and let's talk. But look, let me tell you, Cindy, I am glad for the work that you're doing with Indivisible to make sure that people are. I see guys sitting down on the side. That is great. I'm glad that you guys are out there doing what is necessary to make folks believe that we're not just going to stay here and take it.
No, we can't do that. Would you guys like to be interviewed? You okay with that?
I don't mind.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Now, who am I talking to now? How you doing?
I'm good. This is Melissa Perry.
Melissa, what are you doing giving Crenshaw a hard time, Melissa?
I am giving him a hard time because he's my representative and he will not talk to me, his voters.
Well, let me ask you, what do you want to ask Dan Crenshaw?
How can you, as a veteran, do this to our to our veterans? How can you, as an American, let this happen to us Americans? And how could you take my right to vote away because I'm a woman in America that happened to vote blue? It's ridiculous. The SAVAC is one of my big ones, but just everything. I don't even have questions for everything he's done so wrong. And the whole Republican GOP.
No, the SAVAC is a danger to not only women, but to many others. But for women who are married, for those who are listening to us right now, women that are married, the SAVAC makes it very difficult for them to register to vote. And there it goes. I never took his name, so I can and will vote blue. That is a good one, Melissa. That is a good one.
Thank you.
Well, look, let me tell you, you guys keep up the good work and thank you for being out there. That is the only way we maintain our democracy. Those who are willing to put their bodies on the line.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, you want one more?
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go
Want to
for
be
it.
interviewed?
That's good.
Okay, hold on. I'll find you somebody willing to speak.
No problem. Not everybody.
No,
is
not
like
everyone
you.
is okay with that.
Yeah, and I can
Do you
understand
mind
that.
being interviewed?
Not at all.
Okay, here you go.
All right. Hey, how you doing, my friend? What's your name?
My name is Curry Haley.
Hey, Curry, how you doing? This is Egberto from Politics Done Right. Thank you guys, first of all, for being out there and doing what's necessary to maintain our democracy. I notice you have a Ukraine flag up. Talk to me about what's your deal?
Well, I just feel like that the United States has joined the side of the Russians. And I guess I'm 70 years old, and I was raised not to think that the Russians are our friends. I don't think anything has changed.
Well, look,
And so I support Ukraine, and I think the United States should be supporting Ukraine, and instead we're on the other side. And I'm mad as hell about it.
Now, what you want to tell Crenshaw?
Oh, I want him to come out and talk to his constituents instead of hiding in town halls and talking to rich women, Republican women like he is today.
Now,
he needs to stand up, and he needs to stand up for what he knows is right. Because I know he says he supports Ukraine, but then he just kowtows to Trump.
Now, you also know that you said you're 70 years old, which means you're at Social Security age. What do you think about that? Tell me what you want to tell them about messing with your Social Security, but not only messing about your Social Security, but about these closures that they're talking about with regional offices and local offices.
Well, I mean, I'm mad as hell about Social Security, of course, but I'm mad as hell about all the government shutdowns that they're doing, and they're taking everything down. I'm also a retired scientist, and I'm really mad about them getting rid of grants for science and trying to, put the foot on the neck of universities. So all that stuff makes me really mad. There isn't a single thing about what they're doing about taking apart the government that doesn't make me mad.
Now, let me tell you what's important, because the notion that you mentioned about being a scientist, well, you're a retired scientist now, but there are scientists that are younger now that instead of staying in America and making America great, what they're doing is making other countries great as they migrate to Canada, as they migrate to England, France, even Russia, because of what's happening here in America. So thank you for what you're doing, my friend.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Okay, I might have one more.
Okay, Cindy, that is great.
No, I've got it. I've got nose on this side. Okay.
Oh, you got nose on that. So well,
I've got nose. Yeah.
Tell them, even if they're not on camera, that America thanks them for what they're doing, because they're doing the work of democracy.
Sure.
Okay, hold on. I got one for you.
Okay.
One more.
Hi. But the reason I'm out here, if you're curious, is because I think our congressman should be calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump, because Trump is currently disobeying a direct order from the Supreme Court in a 9-0 vote to return Garcia from El Salvador to the United States. That's why I'm out.
Well, thank you for being out here for immigration reason. Are you of retirement age, my friend?
Oh yeah, I'm 65. I retired about 3 years ago.
Now, what's your thought on what they may be doing to Social Security, Medicare, and these other programs?
Oh, I think it's ridiculous. They're going to scrap them and try to replace them with a private fee-for-service sort of program. It's going to be ridiculous. So, yeah, I think seniors are definitely in the crosshairs right now.
Well, look here, let me just tell you, what's your name?
My name's William Bingman.
Let me tell you something, William. The fact that you guys are out there, none of these things are done deals yet. The fact that you guys are out there means you have still the possibility of stopping the worst that they can do. So thank you for being out there, guys.
Oh, sure. And it's just the beginning, because we're going to have to ramp things up. Protests aren't going to be enough. We're going to have national strikes. We're going to have people sitting in Congress people's office until they get arrested, that sort of thing. But this is a beginning.
You nailed it. Thank you very much. You have a good day, my friend.
Uh-huh.
Hi,
Yes.
you want to be interviewed?
Hi, whom?
Egberto Willies. He has the Politics Done Right show on KPFT. Just had a gentleman walk up across the street and join us, and he said he's willing to speak with you.
Let's talk.
Okay.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
Pretty good. How's it going?
I'm doing great. What's your name, my friend?
Vince.
Vince, thank you for being here. Tell me, why did you join the group? I mean, you just saw them out there and joined them.
So I had heard a little bit about this online. I just wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it or not. And so I just decided, even though I was late, I decided to drive out here and just see where everybody was parking. So that's pretty much how I made it out.
Well, let me tell you something, because you just proved something that Bernie Sanders said recently, and that we've seen with all the large protests around the country. And that is, this is very organic. People hear about it. It is something that touches them, and they simply show up. That is the most important part of what we're doing. So thank you for being there, my friend.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for covering us.
You have a great day, my friend.
You too.
Cindy.
Egberto.
Look, you keep up doing the great work and keep building that momentum for what you're doing, because this is what it's all about, Cindy.
We're trying. We're trying.
You're doing a great job. So anyhow, give me a closer.
A closer. Well, it's getting really crowded out here. What kind of closer should I give you?
Well, I mean, let me first tell you, for somebody who came on to the radio this morning thinking that she just didn't kind of talk or whatever, you're doing a damn good job. Let me just tell you that.
I don't know. My closer would be that we need representation, and we are not going to be silent until we get that.
Cindy Hendrickson, thank you so kindly for what you're doing out there with the Indivisible Kingwood folks. How can they learn more about Indivisible Kingwood, and how can they probably form their own Indivisible group?
Well, the best way to do that is go to indivisible.org, and you can search for Kingwood, and our group will come up, and you can send me an email, and you can start your own group also. If you are on that site, they'll walk you through how to do that.
Cindy Hendrickson, leader of the Kingwood Indivisible Group. Thank you so kindly for having been with us, Cindy.
Okay, thank you, Egberto.
Anyway, I can't tell you how much joy that gave me. They stayed out there in the Woodlands at that event, and they piped it into my studio here with We brought it in through our mechanism here live. So I can't be more thankful to Cindy for bringing that live to us. I want to welcome Jackie Campishi from Katy, Texas, Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita, Glenn Ryan from Katy, Texas. We also have in the house Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas, and of course our Joanne from Los Angeles, California. On Substack we have Gayla Kunis says, awesome that y'all are out there. We also have Tracy Kowalski, Cheryl Atkins. Cheryl says, huzzah, keep it up, everyone. Candy Burns, Stephen Mann, Chris Bronze, Sabrina, welcome aboard. I don't have the whole list, but I call out those that I can see that haven't scrolled off. Ray Wheeler, Mara Whitney, Carol Roseland. Cheryl Atkins says, good morning. Happy Harvard stood firm. They indeed have endowments they should be using to stand up to the tyrants. Very, very true. Sophia Moreau, president of the Houston Peace and Justice Center. Thank you for being here. Tom H., Joanne Horn, Lisa, Kendra, many, many more. Anyway, folks, the telephone lines are open, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738, extension numero dos. Extension numero dos. Let's see. Jackie says, free speech should have price. Peaceful protest should be allowed. Exactly right. Glenn Ryan says, correct about impeachment. Where are the Dems? Pelosi and Schumer quiet again. Glenn, I'm with you. You have to actively come out and say that when you commit an impeachable offense, as if that is disobeying the orders of a Supreme Court, destroying the triad, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislative, when we break the rules that are governed by the Constitution, that is a problem. Lee the Bearcat wants to know why these schools don't spend their endowments. Usually they work off the interests of these endowments to provide all kinds of scholarships and research and much more. So that is actively done with these endowments. But this is an emergency where democracy is at risk, that they should maybe break into the actual capital of that not just the interest off of the endowment, but they may have to break into the capital of that endorsement proper. I read you, Lee the Bearcat, and what you have to say. Let's go ahead and is that Amy on line 1? Let's go ahead and bring Amy on line 1. And folks, the telephone lines are open, 713-526-5738. Come on in, Amy. How are you doing this morning, sister?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. Talk to me.
Well, I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible, but I'm actually a former Trump supporter, and in 2021, I just got a revelation that I do believe he's actually the Antichrist, to be honest. But that's another story. But I think everything that he's doing with Doge and all that stuff, he's trying to bring in a biometric digital tracking system, much like how China has with the social credit score. So it's basically we're watching a controlled demolition of our government. And it's Trump and the military doing like a coup d'etat. But, I mean, these people who are just obsessed with MAGA, they make excuses for him, like to no end. It's like he can do no wrong. And it's crazy because, they're still under the impression that he's, taking down all these people like Jeffrey Epstein, for instance, someone who he hung out with for years. And they claim he took him down and all this stuff. But yet they don't look at the facts that he was friends with him, so he was probably engaging in a lot of the activities that he was partaking in, like Jeffrey Epstein, So I don't want to take up too much time, but you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying, right?
No, I want to ask you a question. You said you were a former MAGA. What turned you around?
Well, no, I wouldn't say I was MAGA. I wasn't entrenched in all that, but I did support him. But, sorry, go ahead.
No, so tell me because most of the people that support him, they have a hard time dislodging themselves from it is almost like they fear saying, "Oh my God, I made a mistake." What made you come to the realization that you made a mistake?
Studying the Bible. And actually, it was, like I said, it was a revelation I came to. I was at work, and it was like, I don't know what your religious beliefs are or anything like that, but it was like something just came over me very sudden and abrupt because I had been praying. I'm a truth seeker. So I honestly prayed to God. I was like, let me know if this guy is truly, someone that we should have as a leader or not. And it was just like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was at work one day, and I just knew in my heart, this guy is no good. And just reading the,
Yeah, let me just say this. Let me say this. I'm a humanist, not a Christian, but I was a Christian before, and I know the Bible very well, and I followed Christian. For all practical purposes, my life has been lived like a Christian, but I just have issues with religion. But here's the thing: whatever brought you to this point of view, I think and you said you read the Bible, and I think your Christianity and everyone's Christianity should have probably brought them to the same results that you attained, because the love, the responsibility to others, the caring for others is what's preached in that book. It's what Jesus stood for. And I don't see the relevance of a Donald Trump and anything biblical. So it doesn't surprise me that you said, and some people will balk and say, well, the Bible changed her mind, and they would be taken aback from that. I actually look at that as you coming home. I think when Bible seeking Christians come home, they ask themselves, how could we possibly have supported that? So I don't see, like I said, I'm not a Christian, but I understand how Christians should probably come to where you got. You follow what I'm saying, Amy?
I do. I would just suggest, I understand not wanting to be a part of organized religion, because I do think there's been a lot of corruption within all the different religions. However, these biblical prophecies, it's the biblical prophecies that also brought me to this conclusion. There's 27 biblical prophecies that point to Trump being the son of perdition. And there's just no denying it. Just in the book of Daniel alone, there's 3 descriptions that describe him as being boastful. Trump is the most boastful man and leader, I think, ever in history. And if you don't want to go that route, just look at Nostradamus. He predicted 3 antichrists. And all of the words were a little jumbled, but most of them were on target. Like if you just go look at, like he predicted Hitler, it was like one letter a little off. But the last one he predicted was Mabus, okay? And I started really thinking hard, what could Mabus mean? And then I realized he was one letter off, which was Magus. And then, MAGA, Make America Great Again, if you go look up what a MAGA really is, it's a witch or a magician. And MAGA is Greek, but Magus, I think, is Latin. So I think he just got that one letter off, which was the G. And I do believe Trump, I believe he faked his assassination to get more support. It's all like an optical illusion for people. I know that sounds very far-fetched for a lot, but if you even go and look at that guy that they said was his quote-unquote assassination attempt guy or whatever, you can't find any information on him. It's been completely scrubbed from the internet. And that's very strange. And I'll leave it just at this real quick. I'm so sorry. Another thing that made me come to the conclusion about Trump, I came across a video back in 2021. He said, I made a deal with the devil. I hope to God I did the right thing. Well, clearly you didn't. obviously, if you made a deal with the devil, you didn't do the right thing. And I cannot find that video anywhere. I tried to expose it, and it has been scrubbed from the internet, and that's how I know it's the truth. Anything that's been completely scrubbed and you can't find anymore, that means they don't want you to see it.
Thank you very much, Amy. You know, I actually, believe it or not, I enjoyed your narrative. You know, the part with Nostradamus. Well, we'll go over that some other time. But thank you so kindly for your call, my friend. All right. Have a
Yes,
great day.
thank you for having me in. I'll call again. You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, sis. Let's go ahead and bring Brian into the fold. Come on in, brother Brian.
Yeah, I want to talk about the endowment for Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone is now being exposed to the lies of institutional colleges, and I believe that's a good thing. I mean, what are they worth? $54 billion, but everyone is upset that Trump has decided to take away $2 billion in grant money, and their board of directors, 97% of them voted Democrat. So what is so wrong?
Why does it matter how the board of director votes? I mean, the Democratic Party is a party of enlightenment. The Republican Party, by definition, is a conservative party. Conservative conserves. Progressives move things forward. It would let you believe. And not, look, let me tell you a few things that that folks should know. Folks complain that AI has a progressive bias. Well, of course it has a progressive bias because the truth usually comes from progressives. You talk about the universities voting Democratic, and I'm not talking inherently Democratic, establishment Democratic. But again, you don't vote for things that try to take away. You don't vote for things that try to take away rights. So it's not surprising that this is how these people vote. With regards to the endowment, I don't think that is anything that somebody is exploring. We always knew these universities have huge endowments. Hell, the University of Texas endowment is north of $40 billion, not much less than the University of than Harvard. So yeah, endowments are there. Now, when it comes to the losing of money that Harvard is going to take, the $2 billion loss, that really doesn't hurt the Harvard graduate. It doesn't really hurt the institution proper. It hurts Americans. That $2 billion was doing things like cancer research and many other type research on ALS, etc. You know where the technology that we have come from? It doesn't come from the private sector. The private sector let me finish. The private sector does not take chances. The definition of capitalism is the maximization of profits and the efficient allocation of the resources of the profiteers. Here is the deal. Most inventions, most technologies originate from your money, Mr. Brian, the money that we invest in taxes. This is not up for debate, sir. You can look it up. The monies that go to universities are the seed money to innovation. Not until an innovative product seems that it can have a medicine, a technology. Only when it is shown that it has viability does the R&D from private sector come in. Learn these things, brother. Don't be just fooled. Most of our technology, most of our research, I'm not done. Most of our technology and research comes from NASA, comes from all these things that we the people pay for. Penicillin, we the people, all these universities created the seed products that the private sector use. And when Americans really find that out, they find out how they have been ripped off by the corporate structure. Okay, close out, Brian. I got 2 more calls to take.
Okay, wait a minute. So Carboline developed a paint product. Did that come from a college grant?
Yes.
No, it didn't. International paint.
Let me tell you, everything that the private sector does came from college. Everything. Let me repeat that. Some people don't like to say they get mad when I say everything. But you see, the purveyors of knowledge came from, even the ones who work for corporations, that knowledge came from having been created at the universities. Okay? These at universities are people tinker talks. It didn't come from the capitalists. All technologies, all research came external to the private sector. Thank you so kindly. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, my brother. Talk to me.
I wanted to help Brian out. This is something that's easy to Google. Intellectuals typically vote to the left, and intellectuals are going to populate higher positions in universities. So if you don't like intellectuals, that's fine. If you don't like Democrats, a lot of those are going to be intellectuals, the people you get answers from. Again, it's very, very, very easy to look up. And another thing that I see amongst conservatives, to align yourself with the Republican Party, you almost have to align yourself with racist ideologies. And there is no scientific basis for racism. And that's another reason why people that lead intellectual institutions like universities don't vote to the right. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And you know, I mean, that's you know, and that is something that we have to say boldly and not be embarrassed to say it. You can be conservative as long as you want, but understand what it means to be conservative. And those of us that purport to be progressives, and you know, many people that coax themselves under the conservative mantra are doing it for cultural reason, because many of them themselves have progressive instincts, because they want to learn, they want to move messages forward, they want to move knowledge forward. I will not apologize, and just like you are not apologizing, Patrick, that points out the statement of fact that the reason AI skews liberal in their parlance, it just means that they skew with factual basis for things. You know, that's this new things that Zuckerberg, in order to appease Trump, recently came out and says, yeah, AI does skew progressive. Of course it does. Of course it does. There's nothing wrong with being truthful. Anyway, thank you very much, Patrick. Let's go ahead and bring Dave. I see you at 3, Patrick. Let's go and bring David into the conversation.
Oh, thanks, Egberto. Yeah, it's interesting listening to him. When you think about AI, science advances and advances and advances. We learn bit by bit by bit. And AI is set up so that everything that is new, the updates get added in. Now, when you think about, I take offense at the idea that Republicans are conservatives. I consider them just flat over the cliff liars. And they've been that way for 20 years when Halliburton had us tricked into believing weapons of mass destruction. And we spent billions and billions, well, actually into the trillions, fighting a war over oil. And so the Republicans kissed up to Halliburton every day, every hour of the day they kissed up to him. And so the Republicans as a person are such liars because they refuse to advance themselves in knowledge. They only believe in what Halliburton spouted back then, or what Doge is spouting today. These guys are just flat liars. And talking about Harvard, you know, Harvard.
David, let me leave you at that one item that you brought in, because I have one more call and very few minutes. So let's talk tomorrow. Sure. But point taken on your first statement, sir. Thank you so kindly, my brother. Let's go to ES.
Hello.
You're on, sir.
All right. Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. Talk to me, please.
Yes, so I think it's funny about this discussion regarding Harvard and about the institutions and the colleges. But if you think about Harvard and Yale and these Ivy League colleges, they also produce some of the top conservatives in the Trump administration. J.D. Vance went to Yale.
Wow.
So while they might be, so if you think about it, I mean, a lot of these higher education, Yale, Ivy League schools are actually a place for where most conservatives go to school. I was in D.C. I worked for the federal government, and I was in D.C. for a long time. And there's, people like to think of D.C. as this very liberal place, but that's where the money is made, where everything is happening in terms of the country. And there was a lot of conservatives there because they're there. And there are a lot of graduates of Harvard, Yale, Columbia. I mean, it is not just it's intellectuals, but trust me, there are a lot of not trust me, you can see it. A lot of intellectual conservatives. They have very interesting theories, most of which I don't agree with. But yes, it's not just specific to Democrats and these people who spout that. They forget.
Yes. Yes, I gotta go, but I want to say I gotta go now, but because of our timing. But I want to thank you for bringing that up. That is, sometimes we're tunnel vision and in what we're saying, and that expands even further what we're talking about. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Now, all right. Let me throw this to the studio.
Well, I think what Brian is missing is the point. You can't take money away from a university or anybody to punish them because you don't like what they're teaching. That's what the whole point is. Harvard's going to be fine. The major universities are going to be fine. They've got endowments. They've got people who support them. Alumni supports them. But the point is, Trump is saying, okay, well, I don't like what you're teaching, so I'm just going to take your money away from you. That is not right. So, Brian, you're missing the point. Jack, what you got?
It's Charlie Chaplin's birthday. Happy birthday. Rest in peace.
Yep, the little tramp. Take it home, Alberto.
Thank you, brothers. Anyway, folks, love you all. Thank you for being here. The rest of the program is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Thank you, Substack listeners. Thank you, chats, YouTube, Instagram, everywhere else. You can write me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com, kpft@politicsdoneright.com. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. A North Carolina Supreme Court candidate who lost by 730